Hello and welcome to our weekly IG Live. Today we are going to be talking about something that actually happened last week. Last Thursday was Read Your World Multicultural Children's Book Day. So we're going to be talking a little bit about what that was and how it went. We had some changes this year that were pretty exciting. We have always had a Twitter party the last Friday or Thursday of every January. And this time we actually changed it to a virtual party on Zoom. So we're going to fill you in on all of that, why it's important to us, and how it went this year. And I should also mention that Multicultural Children's Book Day is actually rebranding. So if you go and look, the logo is now, it says Read Your World, because that better describes how it is. It used to really just be a one-day event, one day out of every year. And now it's really something that happens all year long, where they are supporting multicultural children's books, YA books, diverse literature. And so they wanted a name that would better reflect the fact that it's an all year round program and process. They're actually a nonprofit, and so they support diverse books all year long, not just on Multicultural Children's Book Day, although that is still important. That big annual event is still a big deal, but it's not all that there is. So hello, welcome. We are going to be talking today about Multicultural Children's Book Day, which is an annual event. It's a nonprofit, and they support diverse children's books. And for those of you who don't know, it's something where you can sign up to be a book reviewer. If you are an author or an illustrator, a publisher, you can also donate books and get matched with a book reviewer. So it's a great way, especially if you are, we have bigger publishers that participate, but it's also really great if you are an author and maybe you're self-published or you're with a smaller press and you really want to get your name out there. It's a great way to connect with readers who are really looking for diverse books. So it's a wonderful event and a wonderful way to connect with an audience that is really looking for what you're doing. So if you do diverse books, then you should really check out Multicultural Children's Book Day. Like I said, originally it started out as a one-day event. It was just once a year. They decided, it was Mia Wingen, who, if you go back and look, we actually interviewed her on here a few weeks ago, I think. Mia and Pragmatic Mom and Valerie of Audrey Press, they wanted to do something to to support diverse books because they saw that there really was a lack of diversity in children's literature. This was 10 years ago. And they decided, why don't we come up with our own holiday? And they did. So they created Multicultural Children's Book Day. It is now going to be on the last Thursday of every January. So you can always look for it at the end of January, unless that conflicts with something like Holocaust Remembrance Day. But they picked January really because it's a month where there's not as much going on. You know, we don't have as many holidays. Don't have as many holidays. It's not a heritage month, especially at the end of the month. The only thing is that sometimes might conflict with Holocaust Remembrance Day, but they knew that families would be really busy at the start of the school year and at the end of the school year, and of course around the holidays. So they wanted to pick a time when maybe there would be a little bit more time and we could focus on diverse books. And it's also kind of nice to have it right after Martin Luther King Day, you know, when people are focused a little bit more on diversity, and then it's right before Black History Month, but it doesn't really conflict with either one of them. So they created a holiday. They just decided, why don't we come up with a holiday and use it as a way to promote all of these diverse books? And they did, but it's been 10 years, and the nonprofit has evolved over those 10 years, as they tend to, and so now it's grown enough. We have hundreds of people participating, doing book reviews, really just sharing their love of diverse books. We have authors, illustrators, publishers who get involved, and it's grown to the point that now we Multicultural Children's Book Day really has events all year long that they do. If you are an author or an illustrator, you can see that you can get a shout out on social media. It's actually pretty economical to purchase one of those, but you get in front of, they have a really large audience who's really geared up for looking for diverse books. So if you have one, you could consider that. You could be a sponsor of the month, which gives you a lot more coverage, or you can help sponsor the big annual event at the end of January. But like I said, because they are really doing events all year long and activities to support diverse books, now they're rebranding as Read Your World, which has always been the hashtag that they've used. So if you just search the hashtag Read Your World, you're going to find a lot of really great content from Multicultural Children's Book Day, but also from other reviewers. If somebody wants to post a diverse book review, they'll use the hashtag Read Your World. All of the people who did book reviews for the event that we just had, they used the hashtag Read Your World. And so now that is going to be the new name of the nonprofit, is Read Your World. So you can always just look out for that. And so I think Dee Dee was going to join me, and I don't know if we had a miscommunication. I don't see her on here, so I'm going to just chat a little bit longer. If anybody has any questions, you can let me know. If you participated in Multicultural Children's Book Day, we'd love to hear what your experience was. And I can tell you a little bit something that was different this year, as I mentioned at the beginning, if you saw the very beginning, is that we changed from a Twitter party to a virtual party. So one of the things that everybody really looked forward to every year was this huge Twitter party. And people would get on and we would have questions, we'd give away tons of prizes, and everybody really looked forward to it. But as many of you know, there have been a lot of problems with Twitter this year, and a lot of people aren't even on the platform anymore, or they don't like to use it or support it. Hello. And so so instead we decided to switch to a virtual party on Zoom. I'm just talking about Multicultural Children's Book Day, which is actually rebranding as Read Your World. So that just happened last week, so we were just going to give a quick recap, and one of the differences is switching from a Twitter party to a virtual party. And one of our sponsors suggested that we try Zoom, because the other problem with Twitter, besides all the problems that it's had this past year, is that for a lot of people it's a little too frantic. If you've ever gone to a Twitter party where there are a lot of participants, and we would have hundreds of people participating, it can be really hard to keep up with it. You're scrolling through the comments, you're trying to, when you take the time to comment, then you miss all these other comments that are flying past, and it can be really hard to follow up with it. I mean, it kind of generates a lot of buzz, but sometimes it can feel a little too frantic. And so instead, we decided to try Zoom format. And maybe you guys have participated in something like this where you have this big Zoom meeting and actually everybody was on mute except for the moderators. And I was there on there as admin support, and another Frances Evans, she was on there as admin support. And also we had Mia Wingen, who was one of the co-founders of Multicultural Children's Book Day. We had another sponsor, Language Lizard, and of course we had Dee Dee Cummings, because Makeaway Media is, and has been for a number of years, was the super platinum sponsor of Multicultural Children's Book Day this year. So Dee Dee was on as one of the moderators. And we had questions, that are really relevant for what people are going through, like, how has the past year been for you and your kids, and what books have helped you get through it? Give a shout out to some of your favorite diverse books from this past year. What topics would you like to see addressed? What do you think the gaps are in diverse children's books? And it's interesting because every year Multicultural Children's Book Day puts together a classroom kit of resources. It's all digital. You can download it. It's free. And we've had different topics like poverty and homelessness. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. So it's systemic racism. Yeah, how to talk about systematic racism to kids. How to talk about all these different kinds of issues around diversity. And what came up last year, so not in 2022, I think it was that it came up that people were really concerned about children's mental health because of the pandemic. And so they really wanted to have some resources for that. So this past year, our classroom kit was centered around children's mental health. And of course, Dee Dee Cummings was one of the main contributors to that because, of course, she's so knowledgeable in this area. And so that's something we always talk about at the Twitter party. So we did it this year at the virtual party. And I'll just give you a sneak preview because we haven't talked about this yet. But we're thinking that this year is going to be around the environment, because a lot of people, we had a range of comments of what people are looking for, but one of them that kept coming up over and over again was about environmentalism and climate change, that's something they're concerned about, their kids are concerned about. And of course, we wanted to tie it into issues of diversity And so Dee Dee had actually made the suggestion that we talk about environmental racism and environmental justice, because those actually, they do go together quite a bit. And a lot of times the places that are most devastated environmentally are also where there are communities of color, where there are poor people. So these are really not separate issues. It's not a leap to talk about these together. So probably we'll be making an announcement sometime, but that is what we are thinking, that we are going to make the classroom kit on this year. And it all came out of comments at the virtual party. So really, when people attend that virtual party, and again, that's the last Thursday of every January, we really listen to those comments. And also, we're going to be putting together, people gave so many great recommendations of children's books, just really wonderful. Yes, thank you. I think it's a wonderful topic. And it was something that we hadn't really thought of, but it came out of the comments at the virtual party. And like I was saying, people gave a lot of really wonderful comments about children's books that they love, and ones that they would recommend, ones that have helped them this past year. And because it seems like this past year has been a tough one for a lot of people. And so we're going to be putting all of those together into a blog post, so you can see all these great suggestions. And they come from viewers, you know, it can be parents, educators. We had a lot of teachers on there, a lot of parents. There were authors on there, you know, representatives from publishers. So they're listening. So this is a great way if you want to, you know, really make your voice heard. The virtual party is a great way to do that, because this is interaction between a lot of people who are kind of involved in the business of children's books, whether they're reading them to their children, they're teaching it in the classroom, or they're creating the books. So so people pay attention to what the comments are. So like I said, environmental racism is most likely going to be the topic of our classroom kit this year. It usually comes out in the fall, so you can watch for that. Or if you go to Multicultural Children's Book Day, you can see all of the past classroom kits. And like I said, they usually do come out of the virtual party that's held every year and the comments that we get from readers. So so you can watch for the new one in the fall, but you can also go back. There's such a great resource. I think we have 9 or 10 of them already that are out. Another one I think I forgot to mention was about physical disabilities, kindness. You know, there are lots of different topics that are so great to talk about with kids. And it's called a classroom kit. But of course they can be used for homeschoolers. And actually now I remember one of them was specifically for homeschoolers, although all of the kits could be used in a classroom or a homeschool. But I think the 2021, it was 2020 or 2021, you know, when everybody was switching to having to be at home, that they did one specifically for homeschoolers. You can access the classroom kits if you go to multiculturalchildrensbookday.com. I don't remember the exact URL for the classroom kits, but along the top, and I believe that the tab is resources. Or if you just search for classroom kits, you can find it. And maybe I'll put the link to it in the comments for this video once it's up. But I believe it's under a tab for resources. And like I said, there are about 9 or 10 of them out already, and each one has book lists. They have a printable poster that you can put up. They have activities. They have kind of like some thoughts on it. I think Dee Dee has contributed to almost all of them because she has so much knowledge in a lot of different areas. She's in almost all the classroom kits that we've done. You know, just different articles about why it's important to teach kids, ideas. For example, the one that we did on mental health awareness, there was some mindfulness activities, a mental health wellness checklist for kids. How do you talk to kids about what mindfulness? There was a book list of children's books that address it. So a lot of different kinds of resources, and of course the printable poster, which is in there as well, that can be hung up in your classroom or in your home. And they're really wonderful resource. And like I said, this next one is going to be great as well. We usually start working on it over the summer and reaching out to different people that are involved with Multicultural Children's Book Day that we know are a resource, and start putting it together so it's ready for the beginning of the school year. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off, but like I said, we've been talking about Multicultural Children's Book Day. It's a great resource. They are rebranding as Read Your World. We just had our huge annual event, but it's no longer the nonprofit is no longer just about this annual event, but it is a time when we generate a lot of buzz, a lot of resources. So if you go to Read Your World MCBD, then you can find a lot of those. There, you can look and see what people said in the survey. We did a survey at the end of the virtual party. You can see what people said about that. You can scroll through and see all these amazing sponsors. Like I said, Makeaway Media is the super platinum sponsor, so there's a lot about Makeaway Media. And you can see some of the other ones. It's a great way to find new authors to follow, new illustrators, really just a great resource to find. So thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Bye.